people might look at TV matches as like, well, nothing significant happens. But to your point, if you put them in that position and then give us more clean finishes or more decisive finishes to kind of help push those characters, that's what I'm talking about. Because, for example, what about a TV match like CM Punk versus John Cena from Raw in 2013, which you can argue was the best match they ever had in their entire series?
Yeah. Pile Driver John. That sounds crazy.
What the? Wait,
yeah, that was crazy.
Wait a
That was
minute.
crazy. That was crazy. That's a foul. That's a foul.
That's that.
Technical foul.
Yeah, that's a foul. TV up now. But this is how I feel about it. I feel like this when it comes down to TV matches. I think now especially they're saved for the big moments, which this is what we love about professional wrestling. Well, one of the things we love. We love those big moments, those shot factors, those pure wrestling moments that we get, right? We can remember, for example, a John Cena and CM Punk during that time on the road to WrestleMania. We can remember a Seth Rollins and Neville for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship.
Or what about champion Randy Orton versus Cody Rhodes, where Cody's job was on the line?
Right.
And this is us talking about the 2010s. Like, we could go even further. What about Kurt Angle versus Eddie Guerrero in the 2 out of 3 Falls match on SmackDown?
Yeah. There's been plenty of them, and the thing is that they're set up
on SmackDown too.
Yeah, we've had bull rope matches. We've had steel cage matches.
Christian versus Orton in the cage on SmackDown.
They're set up as a precursor, not only one to carry on these storylines, but also to set up for, even though this is a big moment, there's a bigger moment behind it. So appreciate TV moments. Yes, I guess as a wrestling fan, you'll sit there and say, well, this is a shocker. Why don't they do this for a pay-per-view? Because maybe the two people in the ring you want to see, like we've always called for Neville to go after a world title, and it's never happened in WWE. So I guess in that sense, it's more so we know the potential of the challenger or the champion in the ring, and it's like, why don't they make this a pay-per-view match? As to why they don't get it why they're getting it on free TV. But then again, here goes my black side talking. It's free. Why are you complaining?
And it also could be a pay-per-view match somewhere in the future too. Maybe not that year, but it could be the next year. And now you have a reference to go off of. What if we do put it on pay-per-view? Because like the way I'm seeing it, there's some maybe it's just me, but maybe y'all remember this when you were younger. If a match is really good and it cuts to commercial, you go, God damn it, shit. Like you're full of anticipation because you want to see what happens next. And that's not a bad thing. I think part of that might be attributed to, not everybody liked commercials growing up. Of course we didn't. But like, also in a binge, we're also in a binge culture era where like we have everything readily accessible right away. So like to do weekly episodes, like to have pauses in action, basically, where you have to wait for the good stuff. That can frustrate some people, but it's also anticipation because now you're going to want it more. That's kind of why I liked TV matches to begin with as a kid, because when you see a big TV match and a big match happen, it's like, we got to go to commercial break. We'll be right back. And then they talking about Chef Boyardee. That gave me a second to go piss because I've been holding it for 10 seconds. Pause. And then I can watch the match again when it comes back, and I'm like, yeah, we're back to the good stuff. Like I miss, and that's something you can't really do at pay-per-view. You can't build anticipation that way, which is not a bad thing, but it makes it unique, and I think could be a positive for TV matches, just having that. And then when you have a commercial free, my bad, you get a pay-per-view on TV, essentially.
Like, I just miss when big TV episodes were a stopgap between pay-per-view, basically. Like, I missed when especially in the ruthless aggression era where they did it so well. Like during that time period, which is why I guess like people kind of do underrate the ruthless aggression a lot. But that was a perfect era where everybody was able to get their shit in on TV, and it meant something every fucking week. especially when Paul Heyman was waxing Raw like every week creatively and made every show important for their brand specific pay-per-view. You know, and Raw to an extent, but more so SmackDown because you were able to see more growth from younger talent than Triple H's Reign of Terror. But even then, on both shows, there were great stopgaps for going into pay-per-views because it's like, okay, we're getting good TV, so you don't really need to, you don't feel like, okay, this got to blow over at the pay-per-view because by the time the pay-per-view comes, you know it's the blow-off or the payoff for the pay-per-view.
Mm-hmm. Or
now it's just like, all right,
you don't
this is holding over for something else, and it's dragging, and it's on TV. You're continuing it, and then sometimes they stop, start, push, whatever, and
put it like this. You don't get the Jeff Hardy and Undertaker match, that WWE Championship ladder match. Jeff Hardy, in my opinion, just my opinion, and everybody can disagree with me. You don't get Jeff Hardy as champion if he doesn't have that match. If he's not looked at and get that respect from Taker and seen as a main event guy, yes, we're talking maybe 5 or 6 years removed from that moment, maybe.
I mean, he got his win back on SmackDown when they ran it back in the Extreme Rules match years later.
They paid it off.
Exactly. So that's the importance of TV matches. You get continuity in stories with TV matches. You get some type of importance. And now it's even more important. What's going on, bro? It's more important, I think, now because look at what they're doing. And this is the brilliance. And I'm not doing as what the kids would say, glazing. I'm not, I know. I turned 32 and now I'm old as shit now.
What are we doing?
It's crazy. That's what the kids say. No. That's what Tyler's like. What are we doing? That's what they say. This generation is all fucked up. But anyway, yeah, it is our fault. Triple H does a very smart thing in making the main event something to watch because it's the main event. That's what it should be. It should be must-see TV when there's a main event. If you have a guy like Jey Uso, who's the Intercontinental Champion, or LA Knight, who's the United States Champion in the main event, it should mean something, and they should take up enough time. Now, unfortunately, LA Knight, in their situation, they got the bloodline over there on SmackDown. So they're kind of overshadowed.
But as a general concept, you're right. And if you're talking about Triple H, to add to what you're saying, Eric, he did it. And I know people be like, it's smaller scale, but the concept is uniform. It can work anywhere. Triple H did it with NXT on a number of different occasions. How many, Samoa Joe versus Sami Zayn, the match took the whole episode. Maybe that's something you can get away with on NXT because it was 1 hour at a time, but that doesn't mean you couldn't dedicate a whole hour of Raw to one match. Do you know how crazy that would be now? That used to be a more common occurrence back in the day. Imagine you had a match like, let's say, Gunther versus Chad Gable for the Intercontinental Championship like it was a couple months ago. Oh, it was only just how many weeks ago that we were at that point. Imagine they went the whole hour from 10 to 11 and people are tuning back like, the match is still going? Yo, what are they doing to each other? Pause. And you see them beating the life out of each other. The barricades are broken, the turnbuckles are shot, they're both like on their last legs, and then you get that dramatic finish.
And see, the story calls for that because what was Chad Gable's whole thing? He's not going to give up.
Yeah, give it up. Yeah.
Right.
And Gunther was this guy who is unbeatable. So okay, if your will is not stronger than my will, so we're going to keep this going until one of us just gives up.
And if your biggest argument is that TV in wrestling is just an advert for the pay-per-view, I'm going to use your argument against you. If that's what I'm seeing on free TV, imagine the quality of stuff I got to pay money for. That means that whatever I'm paying for could be on that level, if not higher. Because you could put any level of match on any level of show. That's what I believe. Obviously, there are appropriate times to do it. Don't get me wrong. I'm not blind to that. But what I'm saying is, if your TV is consistently giving us quality matches every week, doesn't have to be big main events, but if you are maximizing your TV and you are changing the stigma around TV matches to where it's not just I guess, and it's more so I need, then what's the pay-per-views going to be like? Now these pay-per-views ain't going to feel like filler. They're not going to feel like, oh, we just wait until SummerSlam or we wait until Mania. Now I got to see everything. And that capitalizes on the buzz that WWE has right now, because if you're already hot, the product's already hot, and you're making it hotter, we got Hades on Earth right now.
Yeah.
What are we doing? Why is this an argument? What are we doing?
Yeah. I don't know.
I mean,
go ahead.
Are we just resistant to change, or we haven't seen it in a while that we can't believe in it no more? Because I'm seeing them already break the barriers already.
I think it's the latter of what you said. I think it's the fact they haven't seen it in a while. They're just used to what we've been getting, and now that we're getting a glimpse of that again, we don't know how to digest it properly as a fan base. Because like as a wrestling fan base, especially for those who've been watching WWE for as long as we have, we've been kind of skeptical in terms of, all right, are you sure they're doing it in the right direction? Are you sure it's safe to kind of enjoy the product in a certain way? So I guess if it was received in a way for fans, I think for them it's more of a wait and see thing for them. Hopefully it does change.
Yeah, I mean, we're getting out of Stockholm syndrome. I get it, but like, hey, man, this water tastes nice when it don't taste like piss. I'm just saying, there's certain things I don't think you need years of conditioning to understand, especially when the examples we gave weren't even that long ago. I know NXT being 1 hour seems like a lifetime ago, but honestly, the company's been so much in stasis. A lot of stuff feels like it hasn't changed. You know how you said it was 4 years since the Street Profits won the tag team championships? It didn't feel like 4 years, did it? It's not just because of where we're at in age. The company hasn't felt like it's changed much outside of a few storylines. So it shouldn't be that far removed out of your memory. And for the new fans that didn't get to experience previous eras, I hope you're enjoying the blessings you're getting right now, because you get matches like Chad Gable and Dragon Lee, and you can see how good a TV match can be, and you don't need to pay money for that. That match was so good, I'm convinced Dragon Lee should be the one to beat Braun Breaker for that Intercontinental title. I'm not even going to hold you, man. I'm not even going to hold you. Get Chad on SmackDown. Please.
We need Chad.
Let him be the nation's champion. That's part of his redemption story for the Intercontinental title. I couldn't win what I wanted, but I'm going to make the most out of being the champion of this country. I believe in Chad Gable. We are ready, Willen and Gable. We are ready for him to. That's the belt he should have won in the first place. But you know what? I digress. But it would be nice to see Chad Gable and Ivy Nile both as U.S. champions, and the Creeds as tag champions. And you know what? I wouldn't mind watching it on TV.
It's the way Tyler's saying it. I wouldn't mind watching it.